one thing I want to bring to this, and that I bring strongly to this, is the fight for safe water is a fight, a political struggle. It's a political struggle that says the human right to water and the most fundamental right for our children to have safe supersedes any tax break to any rich person, supersedes it entitles us to this audit so we know what happened to the bonds. And we need to keep this in mind if we're going to win this fight. Because otherwise they're going to constrain our struggle to what they think the limits of it. That's what they always want. They got us fighting for a crumb while the big shots walk away with it all. And we don't need a crumb. We need safety for our water. One of the things, when you talk about Flint, one of the things that always hit me about Flint was, the water, the contaminated water that lead poisoned the children of Flint came out of where? It came out of the Flint River, which was contaminated by the waste put into it by General Motors. Now, General Motors figured out right away what was going on and stopped putting that water into the plant. The creator, the person in whose all great wisdom, who developed lead, who realized the value of lead in gasoline, was Kettering. The Kettering Institute's named it. He was the chief engineer for General Motors. He developed it. And yet General Motors, so the root of the poisoning of Flint is General Motors. Not just Snyder, and he's at the root of it too, we know that. But General Motors. General Motors made $9 billion last year. Why didn't half of that go to the children of Flint to repair the damage? Considering General Motors also destroyed the economy of Flint when it eliminated 70,000 jobs. So I'm here just to say, one thing that I want to emphasize is that we're going to fight on these most basic issues. Water, I fight foreclosures. That's what I've done for years. When I fight foreclosures, I know who I'm fighting. I'm fighting the big banks. The same banks that bankrupted our city and put them into bankruptcy and benefited from it and then stole the pensions of the retirees. We can't be afraid of attacking the system. Our problems are systemic. They're not just individual. They're systemic. And we have to challenge the powers that be to not let them dictate what we fight for, but to determine what we need and then to go after them with all our might. And we ain't going to do it by relying on any politicians. We ain't going to be doing it by begging these people. We ain't going to be begging the school board, by begging Dugan, or begging anyone, Democrat or Republican, to be honest. We're going to do it by relying on our own power. Every benefit, every gain for the working people, for the poor, came through our own struggle. They've never been given. And this is a fight for the lives of our communities, and we got to wage that fight and know who we're fighting. We're fighting a system that cares only about profit. It cares only about the big shots getting everything at the expense of the people, and our fight is to turn that around, and this is part of it. And the fight against water is a big part of it. The fight for decent water and safe water is a big part of it.
Okay, there's just one more person, and then
well, obviously, the younger you are, the greater the risk for lead. So that the worst possible situation are pregnant women who drink water contaminated with lead because the placenta does not protect the developing fetus from lead. And that's who I feel sorry for the most in Flint, are the pregnant ladies that went through their full 9 months of pregnancy, not knowing that their fetuses were being poisoned. And I also like the way Alice talked about taking out the genius. Well, if you think about intelligence, one way of measuring is IQ, average is 100. It's a bell-shaped curve. And you've got the genius at one end, and then at the other end you have people with learning problems, etc. Well, you can look at lead poisoning in a community, kind of takes that bell-shaped curve and moves it down to the lower level, okay? So that it's hard to say how much happens in a particular person, but as Alice said, somebody that could have been genius level IQ, well, maybe they're still smart, but then maybe they're not a genius. And then, but unfortunately, it's the other end is true too. It's at the lower end, it's even going to be lower. And there isn't a lot you can do with the early developmental damage, but you can get rid of lead with a good diet, as we heard, with fruits and vegetables. Calcium and iron actually help absorb the lead, and that's, I know that Dr. Mona in Flint, one thing that she has done is put her pediatric clinic into the farmer's market so that people can go down and get fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's another thing. You gotta have adequate markets for fresh fruits and vegetables to help treat children who have been exposed to lead. And you need special programs for children. In Flint, they demanded Head Start for all children, and also special educational counseling, vocational counseling, and social service supports. As we've heard about people having problems as they grow older in interpersonal relationships. The other thing I would like to say about the difference between Flint and what's happening in Detroit, the Flint problem was they didn't treat the water properly. We would every town, every house would probably have problems with lead because there's lead in so many pipes and fixtures. It's the anti-corrosive treatment that is generally done that prevents all of us from having severe lead poisoning. And in Flint, they absolutely, it's outrageous that they didn't do that. To save some money, the emergency manager decided, well, we can put this off for 6 months or a year, and we'll save a few $1,000s. Well, who knows? But billions of dollars worth of damage. You can't measure the damage in the human mind. You can't.
Excuse me, who was the emergency manager? Was his name Darnell Early, and he come to Detroit?
One of them that's right. Sure.
He's hiding from everybody.
Sure.
Okay?
So that's the story in Flint. And what's happening in Detroit, I think, is mainly from the plumbing fixtures, the pipes and the plumbing fixtures. And of course, if the schools are out of operation for, say, the summer, then the lead levels are going to build up in the water. So part of the problem is not having enough flow. But still, in the end, as you've heard, no level of lead is entirely safe. So really, the only answer in the end is replacing these old fixtures and pipes. Some are lead pipes, maybe lead in themselves, others like brass and so on, are made partly out of lead. And the only solution in the end is to change them over. And that's why you're talking about $500 million, $500 million is estimated cost. So I guess that's I think they've already done a very good job. But I think, yes, people have to stand up for themselves and say, we cannot put up with being treated in this manner. And I believe it is a racist issue too. Detroit is not treated the same as other communities. And this is throughout the country, of course. That's why we need to change our society. It's out there.
And the root cause is that Michigan has 22% of the world's fresh water. And these water issues, including shutoffs, including the lead, including the pipes, is all about privatizing water. So that when water is privatized, only 1% of this around the world will be water. So 1% of people around the world will be water.
Can't hear you.
So we need to know, there's a lot that we need to know. So when you leave this room, you need to tell what you learned today to other people, because information is power. And on that note, I would say that What Helen is doing is that she's pushing out the responsibility we have to really inform people. What's going on with the mayor and the governor, and we as the People's Water Board, Alice is involved also in legislation that has gone before the state and also federal legislation. We're fighting this because if we don't get water as a human right, profits before people can breathe. And we gotta get rid of bottled water. It's triggering me that we keep
Say that.
We should not be drinking bottled water
Say that.
because it's a health hazard as well.
Yeah.
Those bottles leach carcinogens into the water. And so the poor people, on top of everything else, using bottled water, they have carcinogens going into their body on top of everything else. That's how bad it is. So I don't have time to tell you the whole story, but we need to have a teaching with the community. And it's really, really important because we have so many health threats. When they shut off water, we now have 3 conditions, waterborne illness, that are epidemic proportions, and the health department is not doing anything about it. We have, in the schools, even though they're providing these water, when the children wash their hands in toxic water, it goes into their skin. Copper and lead, as Katrina talked to you about, that's what she ended up having copper in her system. So the kids are not safe in the schools. When they shut off water in the home, they will take their children away from you if they have the water shut off. So here we have a problem in the schools, and they're still sending the kids to the schools. They should not be in the schools.
That's right.
When they cannot wash their hands. And they're drinking the water that's contaminated, but also just washing their hands, it goes into their cord. So it's not a safe environment. So what happened was that I go to the mayor's meetings, and I always come with information that is truly informed information. And he cannot stand it when you tell the truth, because he's so used to lying. He has the 45 syndrome. But I have challenged him about the fact that they have taken the money that was sent to from the federal government. Obama passed a hardest hit fund to keep people in their homes because of the mortgage crisis, which was part of Quicken Loans. And he diverted those funds to do demolitions. The demolitions were to benefit developers because they've gone into communities and the water shutoffs, we mapped it. The water shutoffs have been aligned with demolition. And in fact, the five zip codes where the schools are, all have development going on. Check that out. So when I challenge him about the lead uptick, when you're demolishing homes, there's all kinds of lead dust. The actual public health director was upset with me because I was saying that the families were not being protected because they weren't being informed about the impact of the lead disturbance and the air quality. And they challenged me on that. So whenever I come to the mic, the mayor, he disrespects me. He turns off the mic. So I had asked him the last time, I had asked him about the fact that the children had not been tested and that how come his health department was not entering into the space. Because he said in that meeting, he kept saying, oh, it's up to Dr. Vitti. He's the superintendent of schools. The city of Detroit has nothing to do with it.
Yes, he said.
But the real issue is that the public health director has a responsibility to protect the public health. And so when I challenged him on that, he was very upset. I think somebody
Turned red as that flag. Yeah,
but what he would do is whenever I asked a question that is fact-based, he knew it was fact-based, he said, you lie.
Sure did.
You know, he said I was telling a lie.
He closed down the meeting.
He closed down the meetings because he didn't want to, 2 times it happened.
Jesus.
And it had, before it happened all the time that he would take the mic away and he would answer the question he wanted to answer, but he would never answer my question.
Well, it was Channel 7
So
years.
when you talk
To the
about,
Channel 4.
yeah, and when you talk about it being a political situation, it's very, very deep. And one of the things that we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to vote.
That's right.
We're gonna have to vote because we have the mayor we have because of the vote was tampered with. So you need to go to YouTube and look at looting of Detroit.
No, Looting Detroit,
Looting
the
Detroit.
movie.com. Looting Detroit, the movie.com.
Oh, wow.
All
And
at
it'll
once.
give you a
Look at the
serious
election
thing.
portion.
So if you haven't signed the petition about having an independent election commission, you need to sign that because we need to get control of our community. We have a majority black community and it should matter.
That's right.
So we gotta show up and vote as never before so that we control our destiny. It's through the vote and how we spend our money and how we inform each other in unity.
That's right.
Why did we call Keep the Vote, No Takeover, long history? Please read your information. Why did we call this meeting? The first thing I heard was the kids are being poisoned. Well, we were dealing with this several years ago. I got all kinds of information, all of you that's been with us all these years. We challenged them many times, emergency managers, and they did not listen to us. They didn't do anything about it. So, our children have been poisoned. It just didn't happen yesterday,
Come on
and
now.
nothing Dr. Beatty can do now will save our children who have already been poisoned.
That's right.
We are in a catastrophic situation. It's like that movie Dead Man Walking when the prisoners have to be electrocuted. Our children are dead children walking. We got children in our group, we got a lot of children that Keep the Vote, No Takeover, and I don't want them to get upset with what I'm about to say. But we are adults, these are our children. We have to save our children.
That's right.
We are here and we come to these meetings because Keep the Vote really is a group that educates the community on what's actually going on in school. It's like a university. Everything that goes on, we got people in almost all the schools and everything. We report back and we talk about this and we come up with strategies that will help us save our children.
Word on the street.
Now, how many of you all know about the law that says in the next 2 years or less, all 3rd graders will be failed? Okay. Talk is cheap. How many of you know that Snyder and the Republicans set it up with this trap, giving us a little bit of money, but we are over $2 billion in debt because of the emergency manager? You are paying it in your taxes, and some of you don't even look at that. It's a trap. And so what they're gonna do at the end of that trap, 2 years, is to test all our children, and then they're gonna say, like they just did with the last test, they don't come up to par, the children are failing, and you know. Well, damn it, nothing happens when your brain has been pickled and poisoned.
That's right. That's right.
So they are responsible for the damage that they have done to our children. They are responsible for the $2 billion that they cheated us out of. They are responsible for the emergency managers who came in here, didn't know nothing about education, didn't know nothing about solving financial problems, and took the money from our children. Now, what are we as adults going to do about it?
Come on.
They owe us.
That's right.
We have lawyers, we have people that are trained, we have folks, we gotta get to the sources so we can file another lawsuit. I know y'all tired.
No,
We
we
still
ain't.
got one lawsuit
We ain't
that's
tired.
hanging out there. They took the money from special education and put it in the general fund. It's 42 million. We still have a lawsuit. All we do is sue.
44.5 million.
44, okay, what, I heard from Tom Beasley the other day. What I'm saying is we sue. Keep the vote to one that sued over our right to vote. As soon as we won, they changed the law. They've been doing this.
That's for just 1
They
year,
have been
Helen.
discriminating
44.5.
against us
Just 1
all
year.
these years. So now, it's time to stop this.
That's right.
We have the experts here. These are our children.
Right, any means necessary.
They're
Come on.
pickling their brains,
Like
their
child baby.
nervous
Child
system, all of that's going on. It's time for us to get righteously
All this
angry.
filing and stuff, that's right.
So, I want
1967.
you all that have some pressing questions to
tired.
ask. And then after we finish that, we always get out of here at 7:30. We might go over a little bit. We have to talk to our attorneys and the experts that are here. We gotta come up with a remedy. We want our money back. We want all the damage done to our children. It probably can't be undone, but they owe us and they owe our children. And right in this room, we got a person that's also in charge in this group, Miss Peoples, retired teacher, and a lot of them getting together. We are going to call our program that we used before where the children were excelling. It's called Let's Read. And we're organizing all over this city in every camp in order to get our children to read because we're up against the devil. We want to make sure that when the 2 years is up, that at least we put in an effort to educate our children and to help them to read.
And it's actually next year.
Next year, yeah, we only got a year to do this. In the meantime, we're suing for our rights and our children's rights for the damage that irreparable harm is worse than that over the years. And if they didn't know it, read your information that we made up for you. Don't just take it. Go home instead of looking at Trump. Get the paper out and read it. It's got all the history you need to know. That's why we have these meetings. You all need to come to our meetings every month. We won't have one next month because we work on the polls, we get the vote out, we do all that. But the following December, we will be back to work. Now, I wanted somebody had their hand up. There's gonna be some questions, I know. Make them quick, and then we'll decide on what our strategy is. We don't have a lot of money, but if we did that lawsuit before, raise that money, and all the way up to the Supreme Court, we sure can do it now for our children, make sure that we win another lawsuit, okay? So, yes, you had your hand up.
So is that going to be determined that they haven't successfully met the AYP or whatever, or met their reading level by the third grade if they've already been poisoned with the lead and copper? So here I am at an IEP meeting, and there is no test or assessments to look at whether these kids have lead poisoning or copper poisoning. So what can you all do to help us have a better understanding and explain to parents? I mean, is the city going to do these tests? How will parents get it paid for? Well, what can we do to help parents get their kids tested before they get to an IEP meeting and somebody tells them it's the bad home that you come from? They don't even discuss whether or not it's lead or copper. So please help me
Okay, I did
understand.
meet with the health department, and they said that all the parents have to do is call them to get their kids tested. I don't know why they aren't in all the schools and everything, but we're working on it. Anybody on the panel have an answer for her? And she's with special education.
Is there a board member from the?
Yeah, Deborah.
There's actually two board members here. Our president is here in the back. That's Dr. Iris Taylor. And I am Deborah Hunter-Harvill. I'm chair of academics. And so the reason I'm here is certainly because of the invite but also I know the impact that this can have on teaching and learning. So my point is, just point of clarification, have all of you on the panel had an opportunity to talk with Dr. B and share some of the insightful information that I heard tonight?
I invited him, just like I invited you all.
Okay,
He
so,
just called, but
okay, so here's what I'm wondering. If we can talk about scheduling a meeting so that you could come and share what you're sharing with our board. Because this is another part that I'm not sure that everyone knows, okay? And so I think that would be insightful. And then, Dr. Taylor, if you want to chime in, feel free to do that. But what I'm saying is that we're here to find out what we can find out to take back. So, hearing losses and all that, Verna, I've known that for a while, being a special ed teacher myself. So yes, we need to try to push that forward so that they'll come to the schools. So, Iris, you want to?
Dr. Taylor, did you want to address the group? Okay, please listen, you all. And thank you, board members, for coming out. I invited all of you because it's time that we pull this together.
Yeah,
Our children are being harmed, okay? This is the president of the Board of Education, Dr. Iris Taylor.
What is everybody's experience? Because when you have a situation like this where there are multiple avenues of where information not only comes, but information has to be turned from, you gotta kind of sift it out and sort of figure out, so what is reality? And how much of reality can we deal with today? And how much of reality do I have to make a footnote on? Because the primary thing I have to deal with today is, can I get clean water to kids right now? And then deal with the rest. And so I appreciate hearing everything that you said. I am, by generic training, a public health person. And I've been in healthcare for over 40 years. I started when I was 12. So I've been in healthcare for over 40 years, so I'm acutely aware of the dynamics, and particularly in the community, because that's where I live. In addition to my housing. So there are information, some of the information tonight is not exactly how it's been reported, so I need to do some vetting to be sure that the understanding that I received is which one is accurate, so that we can, and perhaps we can talk about that, so that we can all have the exact same information. And then we have to prioritize what we need to do immediately right now versus what we need to do with the other information that we have and the other concerns about the past. So I offer a partnership to understand the information. I'm just ignoring that phone, I'm sorry. I welcome the partnership so that we can sift through the information, come up with an immediate opportunity, and then look at long-term what we need to do. Because all of our compassion and our goals is to not only ensure a safe environment for kids, safety being first, primary Maslow hierarchy needs, I think they're safe, I guess, help you learn. But also to ensure that we provide an educational opportunity, par none, for the children that we're responsible for.
Thank you very much. Lila, okay, wait, it was Richard next, and then Leah, but go ahead, you wanna?
Madam President.
Taylor, Dr. Taylor. She would like to say it.
I need to ask you a question. Yes.
As a public health person,
You're aware of what the responsibility of the public health director is?
yes.
So why would not the Board of Education,
Come on now.
when we elected, call for the public health director to go to the schools. These children should not be, parents should not be trying to get themselves to help them. They should be in the schools, and that should be an immediate demand, and it should be an immediate demand that those kids are not washing their hands in water. And that is that is a public health responsibility that is not going on. And it shouldn't come from Dr. B, it should come from our elected board,
y'all brought them.
demanding that it happen, and it should happen tomorrow.
All right.
Not
Yesterday. We don't need any more meetings.
We have been working with the health department to arrange for testing. Testing is not only a one-time event. Testing has to be over a scheduled period of time, multiple times.
Right.
So we are working with not only having a plan to do testing today, but what is the testing going to be like for these children, particularly the pre-K to third grade, that it happens once or twice a year over a period of time. Now, the experts are saying that skin exposure at the levels being tested is not corrosive. Now, I know you disagree with that, but multiple experts are saying that, and that's part of the syndrome I'm talking about. If this is what the experts are saying.
Okay, I can receive that, but the other thing about that is that it depends on the individual child. That is, you cannot make a broad stroke, because some children have more permeable skin, and so you can't say, they say that, but it's just like they say there's a minuscule impact of lead, and they violate it. So you can't go by that.
That's right.
And so,
what the fact of reality is, and excuse me for cutting you off, because I don't want to take up whole time debating in here, and I'm glad to talk to you any other time. But the reality is, any scientific pool of information that you have, what you rely on is what the predominance of that information says at that point in time. And at this point in time, the testing levels of exposure to skin says that is not a corrosive way to receive exposure. And that's what we're relying on in terms of that
But
information.
that's what my question is, and my focus is mainly on the urgency and the way that testing is done. And I do not feel that it's appropriate to ask parents to go somewhere when they can actually go to the schools and be more impactful. That should be on the city to provide it. And that's what the board needs to push for, and that should be immediate. And then as far as testing, we know that there's disparity. Our skin is different than white skin, and most of the protocols are white skin. And so that's why we need to really make this a customized situation and deal with the problems that we see, and they need to be made a priority. It is not appropriate for parents to have to go somewhere to get tested. They should come to those schools and take care of it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, everybody, hold on. The board meeting is on your paper, is when, if you read it. Okay, Dr. B is going to talk about this issue. And you have to keep pressing, okay? So, and we're going to do something about it after we set up our strategy. Wait a minute, y'all. Richard, and then Ted, and then Lori, and then Rita. And then we got, and then, Leah had her hand up. Okay. Richard, let's make it kind of short, you all, because we got to come up with what we going to do, a lawsuit. Why are we going to do this? Injunctions? I don't know. Okay, Richard, go ahead.
I like the long-term strategy of pressing, getting lawsuits together, injunctions, whatever it needs to be. Press these people for the money, making them repair, making the state repair the schools, getting the testing to come inside the schools, all of that, to me, is an absolute must, and I'm ready to help organize and fight for it. However, I'm also a person of now, and I understand that if by some miracle, Snyder said that he was going to give the money to replace all the pipes and everything, there's no way it would happen. It wouldn't happen tomorrow. It couldn't be done by next month. It couldn't even be done by the end of the school year. And I therefore think that it is pressing. There's a lot of stuff that we gotta press other people to do, but I think it's real important that out of the strategy session, there needs to come 3 or 5 or 7 things that this group feels is necessary and accomplishable to make these kids as safe as they can possibly be in the schools right now for the rest of the school year. Because one of the things that Dr. Beatty and some of the other people can do is when we go to the meetings where they're at and 2 people say they want A done, 3 people say they want B done, C, D, F, G, H, I, all they have to do is continue to play upon the fact that we're coming from all different angles with no unity, no principles, and therefore we don't get the solutions that we need. I hope that the strategy session, we can agree. We got the long term, we know it needs to be done long term, but I think that there's some short term things we need to try to agree upon and then make them do these things immediately so that these kids can have some review. And I also know this. I just had my nephew who attends a charter school in the city of Detroit. I had his parent make a phone call. The students were still going around drinking the water. The parent made a phone call, and the next day they taped off the drinking fountains and brought in bottled water. It would not have happened if that parent didn't make the phone call. There's people in this room that have students in charter schools, and no one is doing anything. We asked Dr. Beatty, he's made the statement, but he doesn't have power. City council's not exercising their authority over them. And so we need to be more monitoring, more actionable on that, because I also know at that same charter school, just last week, they did this for about, throughout the month of September, but just last week, they just untaped their drinking fountains and went back to the drinking fountains. Now, I don't know if that means they tested their water and said that we're clear, there's no lead or copper, or if they just said we're not buying bottled water anymore. I don't know what they did, but I know they're back on the regular water. And finally, I want to say this. The health department should come in and test the schools, but if I'm a parent, until they do, I'm going to I'm taking my child right back to the regular doctor. I'm getting my child tested. Okay, lead, copper, you can get that through regular testing. Or I'm taking them down to the health department, and I'm saying, we gotta stop waiting, and we gotta start acting. And people probably remember, if you remember this big mouth on the radio all throughout the summer, the spring, the winter, you remember me downtown, fighting Mayor Duggan, fighting City Council and Andre Spivey on this thing they called the rental ordinance that they said was gonna help us lower rents and get slumlords to fix up their properties and get the lead out of the houses. It didn't get the lead out of the houses. It made the rents go up quadruple. And what it was all about was Mayor Duggan and the land bank taking over more houses, getting foreclosures. Even Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer, was against it. We gotta watch sometimes when people say things that they're gonna do for us that sound good, and they're really just to put us further deep into racial oppression. Thank you.
Okay, who did I call next? Okay, Ted. Okay.
The election commission to reorganize, you mentioned the petition, there's one available, there's 2 available back.
What's that for?
After the meeting.
Where's that for? Make sure you sign before you leave, Aaliyah. Okay.
It was my turn.
Okay, Lori, that's right, go ahead, Lori. And then, she did have her hand up before you, but
Well, as a parent, as a parent with 2 children in Detroit public schools, I'm not satisfied with the board. I appreciate her coming, Miss Taylor, Hunter-Harvill, but they sitting up here talking about weeding through facts. From the time VD announced it up until now, what have they done and what have they tried to put in place? And the only thing from the article is that Miss Taylor talking about a resolution that was done in 2017. What that a piece of paper got to do with acting now? So they're here, can y'all be held accountable right now? It's election time, what y'all doing?
Well, that's why I invited them. I wanted to see who was coming out so they could hear the other side of the issue. Only thing that happens with our, supposedly our community is that parent network group is still around. The woman they got in place is just looking out for a certain group of people. They needed to see the community and the people that are really activists and have a lot to say and really solve the issue. They're listening to the wrong people, so Leah, we just have to keep the pressure on. Lori?
Yeah, to piggyback on what you said about the black people, I've never seen none of them out in the community before Duggan decided they wanted to depart from the the original school board members. You know, when they ran, you got more mailings for the school board members that he was supporting than you did for Hillary Clinton. I didn't get not one mailing from Hillary Clinton, but I got 3 from the board that he wanted to elect. Also, the water shutoff. All of the water shutoffs, y'all know, a lot of fast food workers, child care workers, and home care workers cannot afford these high water bills. So they go to work with those same dirty uniforms on every day. They can't wash them. And that's how you receive hepatitis. Because they take the trash out, then they go home and take those clothes off, they put them back on the next day, and they flip them burgers or go in there taking care of your grandchildren or children with those same uniforms on. So that's what causes a lot of hepatitis outbreak. Your mayor said it was never a hepatitis outbreak in the city of Detroit. He shut the mic down on us again, remember?
He shut it down on me when I told him it was public health malpractice to
And who gets the
shut the
contract?
water off.
Who gets the contract for all of those water things that's in the schools? All of his friends? Who gets the contract for the bottled water? Who gets the contract for the system that's set up in there? It's gotta be his friend, because it sure ain't none of us.
So we need to investigate. Okay, Brenda, and then we're gonna close it down, because I already got the strategy.
I got a statement I want to make.
Okay, you have, okay, come on.
I'm gonna let the sister go first.
Okay, who's next?
I just wanted to say about the petition, so what Mr. Paul was saying, you decided.
We didn't hear it. Petition for what though?
Okay, who else? Because you already said the strategy.
I just want to have just a little comment. Okay, I guess like a strategy. Maybe the setups in the schools, you know, the mobile units that they, you know, maybe like a clinic, a mobile clinic at different, I don't know, different areas where the schools are. It's like they have vaccination and picture taken at the schools. It should be like a mobile unit with the nurses and all, and these children can be tested right there.
Set it up themselves, it's a great idea.
All right, wait a minute, they want to respond to, okay.
Children's Hospital has the lead clinic, and their lead clinic has a mobile unit.
Oh, okay.
So part of it is the board working hand in hand with children's to get some testing done, even though the testing right now, if the child hasn't been exposed in the last 2 months, isn't going to show much. The damage was done before. The way that the results are going to come out is that child is going to start not doing as well in school, having behavioral problems, having other type of issues, maybe with hearing. So it's a more cognitive testing type process. And what we know now is that the IEPs for Detroit Public Schools, there at least 1/3 of the children are IEP in some way. Am I correct? It's either educationally, behaviorally, or both, or some other psychological impact that this.
We've lost a whole generation of children.
There's already IEPs for almost a half of the.
So they're going from special ed to IEP and AAE and AEI and then right to prison because of their behavior.
Right.
Then they go to prison and it be like slavery again. It's a
Okay,
cycle.
I think y'all get the message.
Sick of it.
Everybody now has absorbed everything we said, and I can tell by how angry some of you are. I've been angry for a long time.
Still got my
Yes.
statement.
Yes, okay.
I just want to know, what can we do at our homes if the schools are contaminated? Our homes must be the same way, so what can we do
The
at the
health
homes?
department told me they have staff members that you can call them and you can, from City of Detroit Health Department, and they will come out and test it. You have to do it, okay? But right now, we're talking about the school. Because what Mr. Brown said to me when we had that private meeting, he said it ain't us. Okay, and that's what they're gonna say, it ain't them. So he said all the houses and everything in the city, their water is so safe, and they ain't got nothing to do with our schools. Now, that's what he told me. You bring him here and you will hear what he said. So, right now.
Okay.
Okay, you got something.
That's great. I'm glad you segued me in there. Because this is a very interesting conversation that we have. I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm trying to sort this out. Just the reason why I'm trying to sort it out is prior to the children going to school, they're at home. They're in the same neighborhoods. A lot of what they have is what they call lead water supply lines that come into every house. Wow, I know because I've worked on it. They lead set in every house. So then the children come from home, they go to school. They spend a lot of time at home. So we got to be able to evaluate this thing correctly and just not get into some emotional whirlwind about what the school is doing, because some of them might go to school, don't drink too much water. So nevertheless, they probably consume more at home. So let's really address this issue very intelligently, as opposed to, the school's doing all this, School's gonna play a part in it, of course, but how much of it is actually done at home? I know my children, they bathe, take baths, all this type of, they don't take showers at school, bathe at school. So let's really address this issue, because a lot of this poisoning is happening right in our own home.
Yeah.
We don't know. We can look at what's actually taking place at home. You can do a walkthrough in your own house, and you go and look in the basement, what's hooked to that water meter is gonna be a lead line. Lead, they've been doing this for years. It's a lead line that comes right up out there. So one of the solutions that I think that can be applied is right there, when the water meets the meter, right on that other side, you gotta have filters right there. Because right there, it can slow it down from traveling through all of these other, pipes. So that can be something that can be remedied right there, and it can be anecdotal from this particular standpoint, is that if we saying what cannot be done, let's look at what can be done. That's right. Let's have some safe zones in the school, and what I mean by safe zones, if we put the filters here, then they come up on new lines. They don't have to go all over the school. It's gonna be at the safe zones where they're gonna get the water, when they're supplying the water for to eat, and where these are designated water fountains that they can get it from. And then we need to have the test in place, because we gotta really, come on now, we more intelligent than that. We gotta have it based upon children. So you gotta have, if it ain't been did before, you gotta have almost like people that's going to school versus people that's not going to school, and people at home more, and really see where this is at. Because the school, they bear some of the responsibility, of course, but not all of it. We better get with our local politicians what we got coming up in our own homes. That's major. That's right. That's one of the major issues. So let's just examine it, look at it from that standpoint. Because we'll put some in the courts and all that, and they'll do what courts do: delay, play, delay, play. But our children are the main issue that we're all here for. And how can we address that, even if we have to, instead of doing a Flint water drive, do a local school water drive, so that we can be proactive in what we're doing as parents here in the city of Detroit. Because that paperwork, it's called the paper chase. So we'll be chasing some paper. We got to put some boots on the ground, designate some areas. Let's get out there and do what we can. And I'll be willing to also help organize, a water to get to the schools. And we need some people. All these people got this money, got these tax breaks. They should be the ones to be willing to set up even safe zones, because why they're not dealing with it, why the health department is not dealing with it, come on, we gotta stop. They don't even have enough people, let's look at it real. They don't have enough people to be in all these places. So therefore, some budget's gotta be cut, because people, for the most part, people don't work for free, but people will volunteer their time when it comes to the baby. So these are some of the strategies that we may need to be on top of. Get with DMC, get with some of these other people that are willing to, donate, people to come on.
Okay, let me just say, this can go on all night, okay, but let me tell you this, information is important. Out of the 87 schools, a lot of them have not been, the results have not come in yet. Over 50 schools have been found to be contaminated, the water in the schools. We already know that. What we were trying to get to by asking you to have your children tested by the health department, if they have vans or whatever, we got to get there and tell them this is what we want. But the school board meeting is October the 9th, 5:30 at King. I will not be there. I am going out of town. That means that you will stand at that microphone and you will be saying some of the same things that you heard today about testing our children, getting them tested in the schools. In the meantime, you as individuals will call the health department, ask them to come in. The lady already told me I done met with 4 of them. And you get them to come to your house. Compare the information, find out how these kids are being contaminated. I already know. Dr. Beatty put the report out. Deborah, am I correct? Over 50 schools, lead poisoning, and they're still waiting on the rest of so it is lead poisoning in schools. Now, if your child did not get it from the school, they might have got it from home or whatever. We need to know that. So it's up to us as individuals to call and get our children tested. Okay, you had your hand up, and then Deborah is the last person, okay? And then the panelists will finalize.
Real quick, as just a biochemist on my background, but also as a grandmother, what he said is if you do what you got to do with all of that, but also like he said, you can put in your own filter in your house. Mr. Goldberg said that calcium and what was that?
Vitamin C. Vitamin C.
It was vitamin C and it was another one. Vitamin C and iron help to pull the lead out of your body. Also at home, when I get in that shower, I weigh myself on the way in, I weigh myself on the way out. I know how much water I absorb when I'm taking a shower and how much I evaporate during the day. So you can see how the water's coming in and out of your system. You can also do this with your family members. You can actually know what you're dealing with on that kind of a level, how much water you're taking in and out. So that's just something that when you're feeding and helping to take care of your kids' bodies, that you can address it. That's
All right.
it.
Look, at this meeting, you heard a lot, and I've been educated. I'm gonna tell you, I'm glad we called the meeting. So we're gonna finalize it with Deborah, and then our panelists are giving their last remark. Listen.
Just the beginning of a process that the community, which is already overburdened with so many other issues, including housing affordability, medical care, disease, and everything else, is that we really do have to fight, and we do have to keep together like-minded people to continue the struggle for equality and justice for everybody in the city that we live in.
Thank you. I have a question. Mr. Goldberg, okay, wait a minute till we finish with the panel, then ask your question, okay? Because we really are overtime. It's after 8. Okay, Jerry.
And when I first heard about the lead crisis years ago, when my colleague brought a case, all I could think of is poisoning a whole generation of children with lead is genocide. And sometimes maybe what I think, I was just looking at the definition of genocide. And genocide includes genocidal acts need not kill or cause the death of members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm, Prevention of birth and transfer of children are acts of genocide. It was committed as part of a policy to destroy a group's existence. Sometimes I think maybe the way to raise this issue right now is to bring an international complaint and put them in front of the World Court. This genocide has been committed on the children, not just of Detroit, because what's happening here is happening in cities everywhere. It's coming out now. You know, Flint put a beacon on this issue. And since then, if you Google it, you'll see that almost every single city is going through this crisis, and especially, of course, in cities where African Americans and Latino people are concentrated. So sometimes I think maybe we need to think like that. Obviously, we need every local solution to ameliorate the issue, but sometimes I think we need to think bigger and think about how to put our crisis here in the international thing. I'll just end real quick. I was just in Puerto Rico for a week. And I was invited to Puerto Rico because in Puerto Rico, they're going through what we're going through. They've been put in bankruptcy by the same banks that bankrupted our city. And they wanted to hear about what we did in Detroit and how we fought it because they wanted to see it. And we have to think like that. I really believe that. Sometimes we need to fight locally for every day, but we sometimes need to think in a broader scope and see that our problems are really part of a broader crisis that's hit the community. It's a crisis brought on by those who don't care. I mean, Trump exemplifies it just like Snyder did. But all they care for, we're expendable. The working, and especially the African American community, is expendable in the current age. And we need to bring this to the international eye. To the world court, and we ain't going to stop it and take it anymore.
All right, get in there. Lila, did you get say something?
I just want to remind everybody that when I was talking about the conditions that are epidemic level, when water is shut off on your block, you are susceptible to waterborne disease because the standing water collects bacteria. So it's not just the house that's shut off, it's the entire block because you're on the same line. And so I said that to say that you have to notice that those kids who are in homes where their water is shut off and they're going to school, so they are in double jeopardy. And so the health impact, the public health impact is serious. And that's why I was asking the president, who has a public health background, why isn't there a human cry? Because we know that the public health has to be protected. All of our health is in danger around this lead and around this water shutoff. All of us are vulnerable. So don't sit back and say it's just the people with the water shut off or it's just the children in school. All of us are in danger, and it's a public health threat, and our public health department is being muzzled by the mayor. So you need to know that, and you need to know that in terms of electing. That's why I say the young lady talked about the Socialist Party, but you have to do both and. It's not either or. We got to vote because we got to hold our elected officials accountable. We got to go to the board and say what they have to do. We have to go to our city council and say, you need to do something about this. So all of us should be talking to our council representative and the city council on Tuesdays, the meetings at 10 o'clock. They're real important for you to show up and show out. Use your voice on behalf of others. That's real important. We can't do this unless we take care of each other. And we certainly have to take care of our kids.
Okay, now, everybody that's been here and waited around this long, I know we got some announcements too, but what did we say the first strategy is? The board meeting,
Yes.
12 to 1, Bishop Building. Then another board meeting, the regular board meeting is 16 at 5:30. By that time, we ought to have our strategy together, and it's called pressure.
Right.
Putting pressure on keeping this issue out there. And then probably the last part of our strategy will be to file a lawsuit after our attorney comes back. Where you going, Virginia?
Yeah, to Virginia, to the LPM.
Okay, so we will know what we got to do. We might have to raise money, but if this is about saving our children, their very lives are at stake. So